Hello, my name is Jamon E. Dunn, and I am the founder and music director of the Polaris Orchestra, and this is my story. Classical music found me in a way different than some. I was sitting in my second grade classroom listening to a snippet of a piece on what we called Classical Music Day. The name of my school was Edgar Allan Poe Classical School, an academic magnet elementary school in the Chicago public school system that was predominantly black. As I heard this music, I really felt a connection to it. I can't exactly remember what piece it was now, but I felt very drawn to it. And so I smiled. And some of my friends around me looked at me in disbelief. Do you actually like this? They inquired. I felt like I needed to sort of downplay my interest because I could hear the notes of disdain in their voices. And so I said, no, I don't know what this is. And, whatever, it's a sound, sure. And I didn't really feel that I should inform them that I felt connected to it. And thus began somewhat of the ostracization I felt as a person in the field of classical music. The first sort of against me attitude I ever encountered was that of my peers that looked like me. And so moving forward, I actually had the wonderful fortune to have an African American male as a music teacher at this school. And he introduced me to the violin. And I loved the violin. I still play, in fact. Not as professionally as most of my colleagues, but I still play violin as well as viola. And that helped me to have somewhat of an understanding of that I can do this because my first teacher was African American. Now, being older and wiser, some would say, and seeing what is around there, I realized that my experience was extremely unique because African American male music teachers, classical music teachers, are few and far between, and especially at that early level. And so I went through school feeling that I really wanted to do this, but I couldn't tell others about it because they weren't as interested in it as I was. They didn't feel a calling to it. They felt it was some weird thing. And my musical background was anything but classical. I was raised in the African American Baptist church, and my exposure to music was choir singing on Sundays, rehearsal on Wednesday nights, my grandmother singing spirituals in her house as she cleaned, my great-grandmother humming to herself. Those were my early musical experiences and memories. And so this classical music thing was almost immediately sort of a full stop to that. And my grandmother, once she found out that I was playing violin, she was a very, very supportive influence in my life. And she really did not understand what the violin was or how to use it or what it was used for. She coined it, in her words, white folk music, but she knew that it was something that I wanted to do. And so she supported that it was something that I wanted to do, and it was something good that I could be doing. And so she would just tell me to go ahead, as she used to say. And so I say all this to say that even though music is such an integral part of my life and it is a driving force, I didn't exactly have the most affirming upbringing. Now, I had affirmation in the sense of my grandmother and my parents and my family having faith in me that I could do what I was setting out to do. But as far as affirmation in the field itself, outside of my music teacher, it didn't really exist. Affirmation from my racial demographic, outside of my family, it didn't really exist. And so it was very hard for me to feel comfortable or to feel that I was doing something that I could or should be doing outside of the realm of my music teacher or my family. And so it became very difficult as I got older and as I entered into higher level programs, and more of my colleagues were white, and less of my colleagues were of color at all, let alone African American. And so it became very hard for me to continue on this path many different times. Many times I dropped it. Many times I cried myself to sleep. Many times I wondered why I was doing this. Could I do this? Was this possible? But I had the drive within me, and I felt the calling upon my life to do this. And when starting Polaris this past summer, in the midst of this pandemic, all of my experiences, all of my feelings, all of my struggles had come to a head. And I realized that it wasn't up to me to make a decision that could affect everyone around me and people on the next level. And what I mean by that is, I did not have the pleasure or the ability to say, I'm going to give this up. I'm not going to do this. Because many people have told me that I have meant a lot of things to them in terms of the field of classical music, which I don't, they tell me this, and so I take it as their word. I don't view myself sort of as some, larger than life inspirational figure. That's not how I view myself. But people tell me that I make a difference for them. I have had people tell me that my passion is palpable, and so on days that they don't necessarily want to do what they're doing, they feel a different drive because of how I've spoken to them or how I've reacted to them or collaborated with them. And so I realized also too, the third and final thing is that this is my life. This is so much a part of me, I cannot put it down. No matter how many times depression attacked and had me drop this as something to do in my life, I would feel the inevitable call to pick it up, pick myself up, dust myself off, and keep going because it's what I needed to do. And so starting Polaris is me making the decision that if I don't do it, who else is going to? I have to be that help for the people after me. I have to help change the way that this field views African Americans, people of color in this field, the way people view music of people of color in this field, the way people feel about women in this field, the way people feel about the music of women in this field. And these are things that are extremely, extremely important to me because classical music should not be as elitist as it has become. It should not be as segregated as it has become. And it is important for us to realize that as much as we tout about the universality of music and how it speaks to everyone and how it can make a difference in everyone's lives, the field in and of itself does not actually portray that. It's empty words. And so Polaris as an organization, Polaris as an ideal, Polaris as a change and a move for the future is to change that. Is to make the words actually have weight to them. Is to show what we can be. Polaris does not exist as an antithesis to something else. Polaris exists as what should be. And if we are what should be, and others then become what should be, we still have a place in society. Because it's not that we're an antithesis to something else, and then when it doesn't exist, we don't know what our purpose is. We exist as what this field should and could be for the peoples of the world, for the peoples of this country. And so we hope to be the first on the path, and we sincerely hope that we are not the last.
If you would like to help the Polaris Orchestra continue on our journey, please visit our website at polarisorch.org. That's POLARISORCH.org. Please hit that donate button and give as your heart desires. No donation is too small, for every dollar counts. Please also take the time to visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Instagram page. We will be posting weekly throughout the remainder of the year on Tuesdays and Fridays. We thank you so much for listening. We thank you for supporting us, and we look forward to sharing more of our lives and our music with you.